Welcome to Club E. Hi, I'm Rick Brimacombe of Brimacombe and Associates, your favorite CEO coach. Today we're going to be talking about remote working and is your technology working optimally? Before we get to that, let's thank our sponsors, Irish Titan, an e-commerce and web development company, Boulay Group, CPAs and advisors, Highland Bank, a local community bank, Minnesota Sales, a sales acceleration company, Romaid Berg, a digital strategy and services business, and the Network Connect, a catalytic gateway for connecting investors, service providers, and companies looking for talent, whether that's inside or outside. I'd like to introduce to you today's speaker, Daniel Moshe. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you for having me, Rick. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. Daniel is CEO of Tech Guru, and he's a certified EOS implementer through Strong in 6. And Daniel and I have had the pleasure of knowing one another for many, many years. So it's an honor to call Daniel a friend as well as a business contact. So again,
Likewise.
thanks for being here.
Thank
Tech
you.
Guru is a managed services technology provider. Think of an outsourced IT department, and they specialize in servicing accounting firms, but they do work with other businesses as well, including me. And I do know that Daniel's been very kind to me. So I've called him on some off hours needing to be saved. So thank you,
Yes,
Daniel.
sir. My pleasure.
Contact info for Daniel if you want to reach out to him now or after the event. It's Daniel at techguruit.com. And then his Twitter handle is I am Moshe, the spelling on his last name. Again, I am Moshe. And then the website is Tech Guru IT. So again, Daniel, thank you very much for being here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your firm.
Thank you, Rick. And I've been an entrepreneur since a very young age when I found that people would give me money for fixing their computers. It was weird. I would do it for free. I just love helping people. I love hanging out with the people, love helping them with their computers. And then they just insisted on paying me. Goes back to high school. And so I just continued to have fun and ride my bike around and help people with their computers. And that evolved to going to the University of Minnesota and starting a technology company out of the dorm room, which that was over 16 years ago. And today is now the Enlightened IT for CPA firms or Tech Guru. We've got a team of 15 people. Everybody's working from home as we speak. We said, okay, everybody, it's Friday. We're going to do a work from home trial a few weeks ago, and before the order by our governor was placed. And then it worked so well, we just said, all right, you can stay, keep working from home. And some people, as you can imagine, were more happy about that, and others kind of miss the office. But I live in Minneapolis, live in the west side of Minnetonka, 2 kids, 6 and 9. And I also have an EOS practice for the last 4 years, helping entrepreneurial leadership teams get what they want from their businesses as well.
Well, again, fun to have you because we've socialized. I've gotten to know your family. We have a lot of contacts and connections in the business world. So
Yeah.
real pleasure to have you here today, Daniel.
Thanks.
So what do you do? I mean, a little bit of a hint in that you said you rode your bike to clients back in the day, but what are you doing to stay kind of sane and healthy in the environment and situation that we all find ourselves right now?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I had to kind of make a plan for myself, kind of simultaneously limiting the amount of news I was taking in. I've really been focusing on kind of local Minnesota news and seeing how our fellow Minnesotans are working through this and coming together and really taking care of each other. And then also trying to stay physically active, walking the dog. Our poor dog, I don't know, he seems to be loving it. Well, he goes for like 3 walks a day now. So it went from 0 because it was super cold, and then all of a sudden, as soon as it wasn't icy on the roads anymore, we were taking him for walks all the time. And then just I think new hobbies. Rick, you and I were talking before we went live about some embracing RC cars with my boys, and kind of like trying new hobbies. And I've also taken up doing some handiwork around the house, which has had mixed results, but has been fun nevertheless.
Yeah, and you mentioned a couple of different things when we were talking about today's event. So maybe just you don't have to talk about the results, good or bad, but maybe just a few of the things that you've been working on.
Yeah, around the house. Yeah. Uh, got something stuck in the disposal and the sink that shouldn't have been there. A piece of our RC cars actually ended up in the disposal. Long story. And I got to tell you, I'm scared of those things because they spin and they're loud and they grind. But I went on YouTube. I got to tell you, you can do anything with YouTube. And I figured out how to take it off. Of course, I unplugged it, took the thing apart, and if you can believe it, I got it back together and put back in, and it still works. And I was like, I'm sure it's gonna leak. I'm sure it's gonna leak, and it doesn't even leak.
Wow.
So that's one of the things.
Very impressive. So we can call
Thank
you
you.
to fix our computer as well as fix
Yeah,
our garbage disposal.
that's right.
All
Oh
right.
boy.
So before we get to our event today, for our audience, if you'd like to participate, hashtag Tech Guru. And if you put that in the comment field and submit a question, we'll pick 3 winners, and they're all going to get a remote technology review. Technology
Right,
can help you mitigate issues and make remote working a win for you and your team. And
right.
during this complimentary session, Daniel and his Tech Guru team will review what's working and what's not with your remote working setup and share helpful and timely ideas to help your team become aligned and more productive than ever. Sounds like a great deal to me. So again, hashtag Tech Guru and submit a question if you would like. And 3 of our participants will get that complimentary session with your team. So thanks, Daniel, for doing that.
Yeah, we've done a lot of them, and they've been really, really helpful. The feedback we've been getting very positive.
Okay, great, great. So, speaking of the home office setup, what does an ideal home office technology setup actually even look like?
Speaking from experience now, and I've worked from home for a while now, more home than from the office. But now that it's kind of a thing, initially we kind of sent everybody home, and we kind of figured out what they had, what was working, what wasn't working. And then what we've learned is, and I put a blog post around this, is the large monitor that our team members were used to at the office, they had to have the same thing at the house. We thought, oh, maybe we could get by with some 27-inch or 32-inch monitors. They're used to 43-inch. It's like having a flat panel TV on your desk, Rick, and I have one just recently too. We had an extra one, so I snagged it. It is life changing to have a big monitor like that. So if you can fit a big 43-inch monitor on your desk, uh, we just we just sent them home with them, Rick, from the office. We sent them home. People set them up at their homes, and it's making all the difference. When you get used to working in a particular way, we found to change even just the screen size really was disruptive for how people function with their day-to-day work. So we've tried to mimic people's office setup at home as much as we possibly could, which includes cordless keyboard and mouse and kind of a dock for those
Mhm.
laptops. Not all laptops are come with the right connectors to plug into big monitors like that. So we sent those adapters home. We also found that we prefer to have people use a company-owned computer, like a company-owned laptop, not their own computer to remote access our systems, just from a security standpoint. So now that everybody's kind of dispersed, we want to make sure that we maintain at least the minimum level of security on that computer. And then, if at all possible, we always encourage people to do a wired Ethernet or network connection to their right to their router. And if you go try to buy one right now, they're like sold out. So I actually like put one together and took it out and dropped it off on the front step of one of my team members' homes because he needed a nice 50 footer. But after stopping a couple places, they didn't have them, like Office Depot. On Amazon, they weren't going to be delivered for like weeks. And then on Micro Center, there was a line uh, 30, 25 people deep because they're only letting so many people in the store. And so I was like, okay, what are we going to do? So we just snagged one. Well, in my case, I was able to take a piece of wire and put the ends on it. But for most of you, don't. That's not an option. We just repurposed one. You could repurpose one from your office because you don't obviously need it right now. So yeah, if you can wire direct connect, look, wireless is great. until you have, a couple of kids at home doing distance learning and your significant others doing HD Zoom video calls. All of a sudden, the wireless can actually can kind of drag down. And then the other thing is, a lot of times your internet connection might be even faster than your Wi-Fi. So that's the case for me. We've got gigabit uh, Comcast at home, but our Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi is only 400 or 500 megabits. So in that case, you can get an access to, with a wired connection, the full capability of your blazing fast, hopefully blazing fast internet connection. And if you haven't upgraded your internet connection yet, do that. It's going to make a difference for you with more people using it, and you're using it more, more throughout the day. At least what you have at the office. From a technology standpoint, if you're doing a lot of video conferencing, really take into consideration light and lighting your face well. That's not what people get to see. Walk into the office, you can just take it for granted that you can use your eyes to see people and your ears to hear people. But in technology, we need the camera and then have to send that over the internet and then receive it on the other side. And you want to make sure that your face is well lit, and that you have a good camera that doesn't have too much distraction in the background. And then also either a headset. I'm using AirPods or wired headset as well. There's lots of great options. Lots of great options out there. Other than that, work comfortably and ergonomically as much as you possibly can with a decent chair. Ideally, a sit-stand desk if you have one. Or if you don't have a sit-stand desk, that's okay. Just go work at it. If you can, work at a different part of the house. Work at a countertop for a little while. Maybe switch to. I was very very happy for the warmer weather. I sat and worked on the patio on Friday, as well. So those are just a couple tips for kind of staying productive remotely.
All right, great, super. How about security? Obviously, security is a big consideration. Then you go home, and all of a sudden things are even a little more loose. And what about security? What are some things to consider on that front?
Yeah, good point. Now that we went through the initial kind of reaction, getting everybody home. Now it's like, oh, now we gotta make sure that client information stays secure along the way. So I kind of alluded to this a minute ago. Everybody should be working on a dedicated work computer, not one that's shared with the family that anybody else is going to be using. That way, everything is, of course, streamlined, but then also secured by your IT. Your wireless at home, make sure you're using a modern router. Anything that's probably less than or older than 3 years, I'd be concerned about it being able to handle the latest security. The acronym you're looking for, ladies and gentlemen, is WPA or WPA2. That's the minimum level of security you need to have on your home wireless network to make sure that people couldn't be gaining access to your network and wireless and seeing the traffic on your network. Then if you're using Zoom video conferencing, just make sure you're updating the latest version of their client software. We've heard, of course, about the Zoom bombing and things like that. For the types of meetings that you're doing through work, it's really unlikely to happen because you're not sharing that Zoom link on social media. Like that is a way to, that's a surefire way to invite trouble, is posting publicly a link to your Zoom or sharing your Zoom personal meeting room ID. So keep that private. It's like a phone number. And then if you're using the latest version of Zoom, it's got that new security button, which makes it really easy to lock your meetings, and passwords are enabled by default now. So Zoom has done a nice job responding to the common or that situation that some people are experiencing. And then otherwise, all the great security best practices, Rick, that you and I have been talking about over the years, using strong passwords and two-factor authentication, still apply and are just as important, if not more important, now that you're kind of working from home as well.
Okay, great. All good tips, and good thing I have you taking care of me because I know I'm covered. So thank
Got you
you.
covered.
Thanks for your support here on my home front. So, how do you stay in communication when you don't get to interact with your team on a in-person basis? Because not only do you have the Tech Guru team and you have all the Tech Guru clients, but then you have folks with your EOS practice. So anyway, so how are you staying in touch and connected with folks?
Yeah, great question. I virtually eliminated phone calls, actually. It's like, well, it's 2020, ladies and gentlemen. Face to face makes a huge difference, right? The amount of information that you can communicate with someone when you're able to see their smiling face on a screen is immense. It's exponentially greater than when you're limited to only voice. So it's funny too. Like I had a call with somebody. She called me on the phone on Friday. Actually, the connection was really bad, and so I said, "Hey, why don't we do a Zoom?" And she's like, "That's a great idea." So I sent her a Zoom link, and because it's so easy to use, everybody has it now. As if you've got a phone, you've probably got a computer with Zoom on it and a decent camera, and it worked better. Not only did it work better, it was great to be able to see each other, and I hadn't seen her in quite some time. So I would say that you'll have more productive meetings, more productive conversations if you can look at each other face to face, and then also you're just a click away from being able to share a document or a screen as well. Internally at the Tech Guru, with the Tech Guru team and with my assistant, we're using Microsoft's or we're using Slack. We're transitioning to Microsoft Teams. Either one are great. It's just that Teams is included for free with Office 365 and integrates with everything else that we're doing with Office 365. So I'm like, well, might as well go that route. So just imagine, real time communication. So just like phones have gone to the wayside and now I'm doing Zoom video calls, I'm using email a lot less and instead using Slack to communicate with members of my team on different projects that we're working on and communicating with clients and sharing sharing some of the successes and wins from our sales and marketing efforts. And I find that it's I don't know, it's even better than better than email by far, because we can organize conversations into what are called channels, that where we can talk about specific topics, or I can direct message somebody quickly and easily while even maybe they're talking to another client or working on something else, and just allowing us to really stay in sync and in touch, frankly, better than ever. I feel closer and more connected with my team than even before, because I mentioned I don't go to the office as often as I used to, so I miss out on that camaraderie. But now, since we're doing this what we call a daily huddle. It's a 10-minute call. All 15 members of the Tech Guru team jump on a video call. Everybody's on video, and we share the biggest success from the previous day, the most important thing we're going to work on or accomplish today, and then anything we need help with. That's the agenda. Literally, everybody shares that. And I get to share what I'm working on, where otherwise people would just probably wouldn't know. And then the other thing that we do at the end is we always share a bad joke. Like, I'm trying to remember what the one was from this morning. Something like, what happens when you pair or cross a snowman and a vampire? Frostbite. It's like, oh, it's just a cheesy joke, but it's funny. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, why? And we do them right at 8 in the morning. Why not get the team laughing and smiling and joking around as a great way to start the day? So that's what we do, and that's been one of the great ways, one of the great unintended but positive outcomes of this, unfortunate quagmire we find ourselves in.
Yeah, and you told me a little bit about what you do when somebody's stuck on a project or a problem or something. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Where you'd pair people up and that thing.
Yeah, right. Thank you. So to keep the call right, so how can we get 15 people to share in only 10 minutes? And we just don't have time to get into, and we want to keep it fast paced, exciting, and high energy, really launch people into their day. So Heath, who is our esteemed operations director, he runs the call. He focuses on running the call. And what he does is, based on what somebody shares they're stuck on, he will pair them with somebody else. Joe, talk to Tom about that right after the call, and then they work on it after the fact. But nobody that shares something. I'll say it the other way around. Anybody that shares something, it's established how that's going to get addressed right after the huddle.
Okay. So I had a question come in just to backtrack before the huddle. We were talking about some of the technology stuff. It says, would you recommend VPN for WRH? And that's from Lonnie.
Okay, hey Lonnie. Thanks for your question. I'm not sure what WRH is, but the question about VPNs is a good question. If you're uncertain at all about the security of your wireless network, it's just additional layer of, frankly, peace of mind and protection. It takes all of the internet information that you're transmitting back and forth, over the airwaves or over the wires, and encapsulate them in this little secure um, on package that can't be decoded or seen by anybody else. So um, some companies have VPN set up, and you can access that. And others, if they don't, you can use a
Oh,
VPN service. Usually about $10 per month. Use a public or a shared VPN service, which accomplishes the same thing. So yeah, I would recommend it, especially if you're not 100% certain that your Wi-Fi is secure, is encrypted with the
okay,
latest.
so typo on the question.
Okay. Oh,
WFH.
work from home. I wondered if that what it was. Work from home.
Okay, so
Yeah,
anyway, you
the same
answered the
thing
question.
applies. Yeah,
Yeah,
same thing
you,
applies.
you
Yeah,
answered the
thanks for your
question.
question.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Lonnie. Appreciate that. And again, for folks that would like to submit a question or get that free review and assessment from Daniel and his team at Tech Guru, it's hashtag Tech Guru. Put it in the comment field, and we will do a drawing after today. All right, so back to that huddle. Sounds like a great way to start today. Sounds fun. You get everybody coordinated and stuff. Well, it appears to me, knowing a little bit about EOS, that the daily huddle has some similarities with EOS. How do you utilize EOS with your technology practice?
Yeah. So EOS has been super helpful. We've used it for 7 or 8 years. We wouldn't be where we are today without it. It stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System instead of simple practical tools for us to run our business. It's not software or anything like that, but it works for any type of company. It's described in this book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And well, what it's been a game changer for us, Rick. I don't know how we could have made this transition to all working remotely as seamlessly without using some of the tools that EOS provides for us, like the level 10 meeting. I got to tell you, level 10 meetings, it's a really specific way to have a world-class meeting in a company with your team. And boy, it works great in person and it works just as great on video. We do them live video with each other every week. They're 90 minutes and allow us to keep a pulse on the business, recognize and appreciate the good things that are happening in and around the company and in our personal lives, and critically gives us the ability and time every single week to use what we call the issue solving track, or IDS, which is a specific way that we work through and solve the issues that are facing the company today, the most important issues. In fact, the Minnesota EOS implementer community has put together some public IDS sessions, which I've shared on my LinkedIn page, but I'll also post on Twitter as well, that are public IDS sessions. So talk about all the things that we as a business community are going through and how we're working to address them and solve them. Because I got to say, we're entrepreneurs. This is what we do. We solve problems and make the world a better place. And so, Bill, using EOS has helped continue to involve and engage everybody in our team in the process of solving problems and building a better company.
Sure. And one of my portfolio companies that you're supporting and their EOS journey,
Yep.
I know I've told this to you, but I'll share it with the audience, is they've only been doing it for a month and a half, and it's been transformative. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing that with them.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you doing that very much. So the other day with one of our speakers, we talked a little bit about how to differentiate between your two lives, your work life and your home
Yeah.
life. You kind of have these hours where you're
Yeah.
talking to your work people, then you're supposed to shut that down and turn on, to be dad and
Yeah.
such. So how do you differentiate between your work and home life?
Yeah. Well, think about it. What I did, again, I've been doing I've been working from home for a while now. And I like to create a gap activity that just lets me decompress. So whether it's a quick walk or like a little bit of stretching or yoga, something like that, create space or separation in that way because the physical space is pretty much the same, right? I can't, it's not like I have a commute from the office to the house. My work is on this laptop, right? On my cell phone. So I try to create a little bit of space with using time and a change of activity, a different activity. So with that said, that's kind of been the best way to do it for me. And then, like, I use this Dan Sullivan strategic coach concept of the entrepreneurial time system, where kind of like blocking days out for one thing. So, I really try to create. There's three types of days. There's focus free days and buffer days. Focus day is all about growth, uh, creating client, delivering client value. For me, it's marketing, figuring out marketing, working on marketing. A buffer day is a preparation day. It's meetings and or scheduling meetings and phone calls and planning and emailing, stuff like that. And then a free day is no work, no thinking about work, no reading about work or anything like that. And I really find that to help me rejuvenate and be prepared and energized for the coming day of focus when that happens. So that's a little bit of the things that I'm doing to keep it separate.
Great. Good tips for us. Thanks for sharing. So we're bumping up on time here. So thank you again, Daniel, for joining us. Any closing thoughts, perspectives, any kind of last comments you'd like to share with everybody, whether it's technology or EOS or work-life balance or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I found that it's going to be. I feel the way that I'm thinking about this is a kind of a new normal. Maybe you've heard that before, but my kind of mentality, anytime there's some major disruption, it's like it's another challenge or problem to be solved and figure out by us, in the entrepreneurial community. So I found that the most meaningful thing I've been doing lately has been one-on-one connecting with my team members and picking up the phone and calling and talking to people that I haven't spoken to lately. And that and then sharing and learning and asking. And that's probably been one of the most meaningful things is just kind of hitting pause and reconnecting with people. Otherwise, that with a crazy schedule and travel that I normally have, has I found deeply meaningful to me.
Good. So remind everybody how they can find you, Daniel, email, Twitter, the website.
Yeah, on Twitter, I am Moshe, techguruit.com. Definitely reach out to me if I can be helpful in any way. And Daniel at techguruit.com.
Yes, and I can speak from firsthand information that Daniel's very responsive. And if one
Thank you.
finds himself in a state of emergency, Daniel's your guy.
But don't wait till it's an emergency.
Well, true. In the event you find yourself in an emergency, but yes,
Yes.
definitely get ahead of the curve for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your time and tips with us here today, Daniel, and look forward to talking to you again.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing this, Rick.
Thank you.